It's pretty steep. 57,000.
You're so quick with that.
Wow. How much?
And he was smart enough that he was able to
Yeah,
stop.
it's nice.
Well, I don't think I've ever been so ready so early.
Relax, you got 7 minutes.
7 minutes to go. There's a lull in the problem is if we talk about everything now, then I won't have anything on film. So that's working.
I can hear myself now.
There you go. Testing, 1, 2, testing. It's got about a 20-second delay.
It comes through here.
Oh, you've got
Yeah.
your
It goes Bluetooth to there and then into the hearing aids.
oh, nice.
Yeah. So
That's
I'm
very
wired,
cool.
man.
Literally.
Cyberman.
Cyberman. Well, I can, if I'm careful, watch porno without you knowing it.
Well, not if you're going to announce it.
Yeah, but see, I announced it and everybody thinks I'm joking. So when do I see video?
When I finally release it,
Oh, I see.
yeah. We still got 6 actual minutes till we start. I'm streaming that for your benefit because I know you're watching for it.
Speaking of which, did you ever get your smartphones for dummies?
Video, I am at the last 15 minutes, putting the last 4 slides in. Hopefully this week I'll release it. I got so sidetracked with friends and family.
He's been really stressed. HBO has been calling and saying, "Where is the smartphones for video for dummy?" And those guys are relentless. Their legal department is very difficult. Give them a break.
Okay, well. Do we have more? Could somebody pass the coffee, please, since we do have more coffee on the table? Yeah, we do. Esmeralda, you've met my children before, right? Mis niños, tú conoces los, sí? Yeah. Son grandes ahora, sí. Oh, sure.
So let me see those shots.
All right.
No escuela
This is just a preview because we're not streaming yet, but we are streaming.
Carnival. Mardi Gras.
Yeah?
Mardi Gras.
Could probably go down a little bit, or maybe not too much. Just
You like my shot?
Yeah,
Yeah?
very nice.
Cool.
I like the ambiance of the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Party.
because the way it brightens up with the settings are really nice.
Then I read the thing about taking a bus down.
We are
to the park and stuff.
streaming at the
You know,
moment.
we went down and we did Walmart and then took the bus into which was just regular bus. And
For bills.
That's okay. I wouldn't
See you,
mind,
Rich.
but I didn't know where to pick up the bus. At Walmart.
Thanks for the help.
across there, and then it's a big
Hi.
parking lot there.
Okay, excellent.
And it's
Start recording this. Oh, stop that.
You can't get change in the United States on a bus.
There we go. Okay, we're streaming, we're recording.
Actually, yeah, in the U.S. you have to have a card. They don't even take
Everybody's so civilized this morning. What's up with that?
It happens when you're prepared for class.
Did we have more people show up? I see James in the back. So is it 22? Everybody here?
22 except for the 2 kids, you and
One
your helper.
here that's here missing.
Okay.
They don't count.
So we got 22 plus 2 children
Plus
that
you and
plus me plus Richard. So that's like 45 people showed up today. There's at least that many personalities in the room. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I am Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and this is the San Carlos Computer Club. And are there any new faces? I don't see any new faces. Oh, hi. I'm Scott. What's your name?
I'm Phil.
Hi, Phil. Welcome. As I've told people in the past, if you come and sit at our table, you are now a member of our club. So welcome.
He paid 10 pesos.
Yeah? Well, excellent. That's all. And just a reminder, the 10 pesos goes to none of us. It goes to Tequilas for giving us the space and good table service and having ample Wi-Fi for us all to use. And so it's just an appreciation for, we've always collected an appreciation for our host. And so that's where the 10 pesos goes when you come to meet with us. What was that, Robin?
Our hostess.
Our hostess too, that's right, because Esmeralda does a great job of taking care of us. She's not even here to get the applause. She's going to have to look at it at YouTube. So, Ann, Phil, for your benefit, I'll just explain. I record this for posterity, and I publish it at the same time, so you can find it on a YouTube channel, or you can find it on our website, or you can find it in iTunes as a podcast. You can subscribe to it and listen to it later, or you can listen to it live from our website. So we do this from about 9:15 to 10:15-ish. I say that because sometimes we can't leave. Sometimes we're so hot in debate that we can't get up from the table, except to pee.
Thank you for identifying why.
I know you're not leaving because of me. But welcome. And as always, I've brought some topics, but I've also brought some children. Down here at the end of the table, hey, you two, I'm talking to you. Stand up real quick so everybody can meet you. The girl in the cat ears is my teenage daughter, Emily, and the one that's refusing to stand up is my 11-year-old, Bibiana.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, they're happy and excited to be here.
How little they used to be.
You remember?
Yeah.
Because I do too.
That's what happens with kids.
Well, they are off from school. They've been off from school. They've had this enormous weekend. They got Friday off, and they got Monday and Tuesday off, all for Carnival. So they've decided to come hang out with us, and they've got tech. Yes, Emily.
Friday was for Coteco Técnico.
Okay, so they conveniently made Friday a in-service day, so they ended up with a.
And then they get off for Semana Santa again?
Yeah, they get 2 weeks off for Semana Santa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Jim.
That's spring break.
To give to the class.
Bibiana, could you stand up for a second? Stand up, please. Everybody wants to put a face to a name, so stand up one more time. This is the girl that's given us the last 2 or 3 computer tips. So thank you very much, Vivi. Everybody appreciates it. Did you hear that? You're going to have to substitute for me when I can't make it.
It's really hard. I don't know how you do this. People.
Yeah, Bibi is a master at using a tablet and a phone at the same time.
Watch me.
She's an animator. She uses her tablet as an animation studio, and she publishes cartoons on a file sharing or a animation. What describe it? Describe Sketch.
Sketch is
Yeah.
not for animations, first of all, Poppy.
Yeah.
It's for drawing.
It's for drawing. Is that as deep as you're going to get into it, you sassy lass? Is that all you're going to get into?
I'm right now getting notifications by it.
Yeah.
My tablet last time crashed.
It's kind of like a Facebook for drawing. She's got a social network of people that appreciate cartoon drawing. It's pretty advanced drawing sometimes, right?
Do you want me to show you an example?
Yeah.
In Explore, where you can find, and Popular is where you can find best drawing, and this is one of them. You want me to like
Yeah.
go around?
Kids are amazing.
Showing. All right, I'm doing. Pass it around.
You
Oh
can
my God.
Watch the
hold it up to a camera real quick too, so we can get it on video. Just right there. That was way too quick. Say that again. No, this is an example of the kind of art that gets passed around on this site called Sketch, and it's an app that she uses in her tablet, and she's able to publish it, and then everybody's able to comment on it and pass it around and like it.
Do that for good art, and then there's baby.
Watch the cable.
You rat.
Be-
That's from one
BB's doing a lot of cartoon art. And then Emily is, what are you into? You're doing Arduinos right now, aren't you?
I am doing Arduinos right now. I'm into Arduinos, yes.
So Arduino is a programmable controller. Do you want to say a few things about Arduinos?
Well, yeah, Arduino's a programmable.
Stand up.
Frick. Okay. Arduino is like a programmable controller, like you said. You can make like whatchamacallit. Frick. Hold on. You can make like circuits with it. Right now we're just trying to turn on LEDs and stuff, but like you can make cool stuff with it, like maybe robots. I don't know.
So what she's trying to explain, LED, they call it LED. It's LED lights, and so they've had a number of projects now where they're turning on lights based on sensory information. And so what an Arduino is, it's a controller, and what that does is you can receive information and you can send information out from it. And you can write these very simplistic programs without that are based in logic, so that you can take in data and you can use that to make decisions. And so what was your last project that you were making? What was the result? What was supposed to happen?
Well, we're doing something cool in my class where we got a scratch for Arduino, and it helped us program Arduinos easier. So the last thing we did was that we made like 2 connections for LEDs that they could both turn on, and we programmed for them to go on with sounds.
With sounds.
Yeah.
So what they wrote was a program that would listen through a microphone sensor if there's any sounds in the room, and it would turn on LED lights when it heard sounds. So you could imagine it's like a jumping LEDs. Is that right? They're brightening and softening depending on the sounds that are being heard by the device.
Where do you girls go to school?
Instituto Trevino.
Where?
Slow.
What was that?
Instituto Servino in Guaymas.
Right there
Say
at
it
the.
slower, I mean.
Yeah, just say it slower, and
Maybe go,
and louder, and with more emphasis. She's got to do a presentation later this week too, so she's getting some coaching right now.
So where is this school?
Can you tell her?
It's around Guaymas.
It's right after the turnoff for Miramar, right after the.
You mean Colegio Americana?
No, before that, after the movie theaters.
Right there at the Y.
Instituto Servino.
Okay.
After the movie theater. By
After the
Vizcaya?
movie theater.
Right.
By the what?
Vizcaya?
Island.
Vizcaya.
That's a private school too.
Yeah, it's down
Oh, it's down there.
to the left.
It's actually, if you were going to the movie theater, it's before the movie theater.
By the funeral
If you're
home?
taking the Dolphinarium Road, yeah.
By the funeral home?
I'm not sure where a funeral home is.
It's in that island in between the 2 roads. isn't it?
Yeah, it's right across from that fish store, or fish restaurant.
Oh, I know where it is, okay.
Okay,
I know where it is.
good.
I know.
Yeah, you can put Instituto Servino in your Google Maps. It'll show you right where it is.
So this language is much easier than Cobalt or Fortran.
Yes, yeah, it's much easier, but it is a structured, object-oriented programming language. What doesn't need to happen is it doesn't need to be compiled into binary before it's used. And so when you look at the code that they've written, to somebody that's been trained in logic, it's very straightforward to understand what's happening with the code. It makes a lot of sense. It almost looks, if you've ever coded, it looks like pseudocode. It looks like the idea of code, but it is actual code.
Blocks are color coded, makes everything so much easier.
Well, and then that's the other thing is they've been using a programming language that was developed by MIT for teaching coding called Scratch. And Scratch is a visually oriented coding language. So they've got things like puzzle pieces, and each puzzle piece represents a certain kind of logic block, and then you piece them together and then fill in. It's kind of like a template of code, and you fill in those things that are variable.
So people who are visually oriented do really, really well with this.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Emily actually had experience with this coding language 4 years ago. I had introduced her to it. So when she got into this class this year, she was amazed at how much farther along she was than she thought she was going to be.
I was carrying my team.
She's carrying her
Do
team.
anything.
Have you become the go-to person when people don't know what's going on?
No.
No?
They've got their own stuff to do. They can ask the teacher. They don't know I'm good at this.
They don't need to know. Only your team needs to know.
Scott,
Yeah, Bob.
is this normal?
This is
Teaching
normal.
programming in all schools, or is this a special school?
This is, I think that you should consider this normal nowadays. This is, yeah. I think we're really working hard to develop curriculum that's all about problem solving and critical thinking, because we don't know what's happening next. And so we're encouraging this in our school districts and our schools. And so this is new to her, but the idea of doing this in the school isn't new.
Yeah, do you speak Spanish in the school or English?
Both.
Both.
Wow.
It's a bicultural school. Yeah, and so they have, do you and BB do it differently, right?
Yeah. Bibi has 2 classes. She has English class and Spanish class, and she switches between them. And there's math and history and stuff in between those, like inside of those classes.
But is it like a day in English, a day in Spanish, or half day in English, half day in Spanish?
Bibi, how is it now? Because it's constantly changing.
A day.
It's a day. Okay.
It's a day. So she does a day in Spanish and a day in English.
And in those classes, there's smaller classes like math, history, geography.
The big joke used to be that she's not doing so well in Spanish. It's like, well, every class is in Spanish except for English. And she knows English. Of course, that's going to be one of her best classes.
Do you guys speak Spanish at home or English?
We rotate. I don't speak Spanish. Mom speaks Spanish. That's always been the rule. Ever since they were born, the rule was Mom would speak Spanish and Dad would speak English.
That's the rule?
That's,
When did
yeah.
that become a rule?
Before you knew about rules, it became a rule.
That-
only speak English.
The biggest problem is her mom has no patience for bad Spanish. She'd much rather speak English than deal with bad Spanish. Consequently, Yuya is very good at English, and my Spanish is atrocious.
You're getting
Well-
better. You're getting
Oh,
better.
thank you. Thumbs up from my kids on the Spanish. We should. You guys got anything else you want to add to Computer Club? No? Just happy to be here?
Wear your seatbelts.
Wear your seatbelts. My dad's gonna blast off. Wear your
I'm
seatbelts.
sorry. What was that?
Good.
It seems like you're like the shy kid who has to go in front
BB.
and speak. You're like, wear your seatbelts, everyone.
Okay, we're
Am I
gonna,
wrong? Am I correct?
No, you're correct.
guys, we're gonna move on with topics, okay?
Sorry,
All right,
sorry.
unless you have a topic. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, for us old timers, most of us remember the executable programming languages. You compiled them and you ran it.
That's right.
These days, a lot of them are interpretive, so they're dynamic of what they do next. There used to be a language called Plan that was a combination of the two. So you built a list of programs that you were gonna execute, but you're still on the current one. But then you could modify the list as you were going. So they were kind of a combination of the compiled and the interpretive type languages. And I think you still see some of that.
Kind of a self-generating code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dynamic one was very, very interesting. It was used a lot more in scientific type things, where you say, well, I know I need to do this, but then, I just suddenly saw results, so I'm going to change what I just learned and do something in between what I know I have to do in the future.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's kind of been given up for the object-oriented programming languages.
Some of that too.
Yeah.
Where you can change what you're going to do next.
WordPress was easy to use and things like that.
I find this stuff fascinating, but we need to concentrate on topics everybody finds fascinating. So, what has been brought? Has anybody brought anything? Mike, you got something back there?
I heard something the other day about Telmex or Telcel having a new program where you can get your Wi-Fi wirelessly from their tower.
Okay.
Anybody else hear about that?
Telcel.
Telcel.
Yeah, no, they've been doing that for a while. Is there some new plan you're?
It's like 400 pesos a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And how's it working?
What is it?
Anybody know?
Well,
George says it's
wireless
great. He's in
hi-fi.
San Carlos.
Yeah.
That's what he's on.
he's on Telcel. Do you know how many gigs he gets for that
I
price?
think, I don't know what he pays. I think he's getting 10 now. That's up from his 3.5
Or
For his phone.
that he used to get.
Oh, for the
Telmex.
same thing? Oh, from Telmex.
His-
Oh wait, no, we're talking about
Right.
the bandwidth cap on not the speed. I'm sure he's getting good speed, especially with
10
LTE.
megs on Telcel.
Yeah,
He was getting 1.5
on Telmex.
on Telmex.
Yeah, but on Telcel he's getting 10.
So do you use the Telmex or the Telcel modem?
But there still is a limit on how much data you can use,
I
right?
believe so.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's what would be interesting to see is what the limit is. Richard, you just recently bought some SIM cards. How much did it cost you for data?
6 point. Well, the largest package they sold was 6.5 gigabytes, and that was 500 pesos.
Yeah.
But they were running a 2-for-1 sale, so actually the 500 pesos would have gotten you 13.
13 gigs
Gigabytes
for
a day.
500. How do you identify a 2-for-1 sale? Did you do that at OXO or at the Telcel office?
No, I did all those inquiries at the real office.
At the real
I don't
office.
think that I would buy data through an OXO. I'd just be too afraid of a
No,
conco.
actually, I bought data at a Telcel authorized
Yeah,
in Guayabitos because I ran out,
yeah.
and I got
You got the 2-for-1?
the 13,000.
The 13 gigs for 500 pesos?
Right.
Yeah, I said they express it as 13,000.
Yeah, and on your
megs.
phone, on your bill, if you go in there,
Yeah.
they express it as 13,000.
You know, what I'd like to add to this topic, something Richard turned me on to, I didn't realize, is there is a Telcel app for your phone, Me Telcel.
Yeah.
And if you guys have talked about it before, I'm sorry I didn't pay attention to it. But that's if you're on Mexican service with Telcel, definitely download that app
Absolutely.
because it will show you definitively where you are on your data plan, how much you owe, what your billing is. All of that will come through. And being authorized is very easy. You have a Telcel phone number, so they just send you an authorization code to your messenger, and you stick that in and you're authorized, and you have all that right in the palm of your hand.
Does anybody do this from when they're up the north? And
Oh,
keep
yeah.
Keep you can pay from up there using your credit card, I guess.
Yeah, they've got online payment
But they
methods.
do charge you, I think, a little service charge if you pay from the US.
Not if you put
No?
enough, if you do 100, well, this is Telmex, but if you put $100 on, they don't charge you a service fee.
I really don't know it's. My phone gets paid here
Telmex.
locally, but I do know
Telcel.
people are paying for things through their credit card online, regardless of where they are on the internet. So there might be a service fee associated with it, but it's doable.
Here's another question. If when we buy 28 days at a time from so,
Mhm.
and then it seemed to close out early because we can't understand the Spanish that they're telling us, but we weren't getting very good service, and it was only 21 days. Now, could we have used too much data or
Mhm.
something like that?
Yeah, you could have used up your data, and they would dial you down to you can barely read email speeds.
No, I think the problem the gentleman is referring to, this is a little game that Telcel plays. Let's say I have something for 21 days, and I want to be proactive, as they like to say, and I say 3 days before, I'll buy another 21 days. It resets the counter at the moment that I bought it, so I've lost my 3 days.
Oh, thank you, Richard. That is a much better explanation of what could be going on. Yeah. Because you're recalculated at that new date of purchase.
So you can't buy it early.
Correct, never buy it early.
Well,
That's the message.
It's
from
cumulative, though, isn't it?
Telcel. No.
You don't lose whatever data you have left, do you?
Yeah, I don't
I don't think you do. I think it's
Well, I was
cumulative.
just talking about a term
But-
of the thing, yeah, the data thing is a little fuzzier.
Sir, are you a permanent take
No,
or temporal?
no.
I never do that. When I want the computer, I use the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
So you're going through data because you set your phone up as your hotspot, is that it?
Well, data. Anytime you check Facebook on your phone, you're using data. I mean,
Okay.
they don't. There's a lot of plans out there where they don't charge you for that because it's Facebook, not because it's some kind of special data. Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter. These are very common things for them to just give away for free with your plan. But all of those represent using data.
So you're gonna make a choice, and this is, 40 basis a month, gives you X amount of data. How fast would you go through that? Depends on what you're doing.
Depends on what you're doing. You wouldn't want to.
Go through it all, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to stream 4K video for very long.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think on the home thing you get that. It's only on your phone. You get the 1,000 megabytes, Facebook.
Wait, are
WhatsApp.
you saying that when you get like you were saying George is using one, you
I
don't think
you
that
get
there's
that on the home thing.
you don't think
That's
there's a
different
limit?
program. Oh yeah, no, I'm talking about, on your phone, when you have
Mhm.
an account with them, you get the 1,000 megabytes.
Right,
You get
right.
the 1,000 excuse me,
The bandwidth cap.
the 1,000 Facebook, the 1,000 WhatsApp, the 1,000, but that doesn't count in, Messenger, I don't.
Oh, I hear what you're saying, Linda. Yeah, I had just described those apps as being free. They're free on your phone.
Yeah, but I don't think they're free on the home thing. That's a whole different program.
Yeah, no, there's a good chance that you're right, is that they're not making the distinction on that kind of data from and at the same time they could. And actually there isn't a reason they couldn't sell it like
But I
that,
don't
but
think they do.
they probably
Plus
don't.
you have
Yeah.
to buy your own modem from them. They don't give you the modem like.
Scott, what was the app?
You were
that tells
talking
how
about
much is the
4K.
Modem.
Me Telcel. M-I Telcel.
You mentioned 4K.
Yeah, 4K.
That takes 25.
Bear problems?
Yeah, like,
Megabits a second. That's what you're thinking. Yeah, it could be that to keep up with it, that seems like a lot of bandwidth to need. But I use it as an example of how quickly you could run through your data cap on your phone if you're looking at 4K. One of the things that you could do real quickly, you could set your phone up as a hotspot and then hook a dozen computers to it. Very quickly, you would use up all your data.
Well, for instance, I have an IPTV,
Mm-hmm.
that uses data,
Yes.
so I wouldn't wanna go on them. I'd be out of data
Right.
in no time.
Well, and what's interesting is we've had I was sorting this out with Richard because he is doing this thing in Mazatlan, and we're discussing data usage, and I have been streaming the computer club, and we were having problems last year with bandwidth, and so I got in the habit of switching over to my phone, and I would use up my data very quickly, and it didn't make sense to me until I installed this Telcel, and I've been wrong all along. I have 3 gigs of data. I don't have 8 gigs of data. So that's how it gets used up so quickly.
It gets used up really fast.
Yeah.
When I went to Guayabitos, I had it used up within, I had it used up within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had to go buy more.
Now, what's nice about having a contract or one of these phones in the States is that now you get to take your data with you. So there isn't additional fees associated with using any of these apps on your phone while you're in the States. And I can testify that using your phone as a hotspot also works in
the States.
In the States. And it doesn't count any different than the data you're using out of your phone. There's no distinction. It did not work for me in Alaska. And I think it has something to do with their networks. And
How did it not work?
it didn't work. I wasn't able to hook anything to it. I was able to hook things to it, but I wasn't able to
Transmit.
yeah, I wasn't able to use the internet. I was able to connect to the hotspot, but I wasn't able to go out onto the network.
But you're saying that if I turn my phone or whatever into a hotspot, that I'm not gonna use data anymore?
You know, you will use data. You absolutely use data. What I was saying is that it will be the same price for data.
Okay.
Yeah, if you hook your computer up to it. And this is a frustrating thing too. Windows 10 has actually done a good job of adding a feature in their networks so that you can say this is a metered connection. So you can use your hotspot on your laptop, and Windows 10 isn't trying to download its updates. Or even better, Windows 10 has a peer-to-peer update function built into it. So when you're on the internet by default, you've elected to make your computer one of the nodes that shares updates with other computers on the network. If you don't distinguish your hotspot as a metered connection, your computer could be sharing updates with other computers on the internet through your cell phone, using up your data.
Well, I bought the stick down at Telcel.
Yeah.
They have a Huawei stick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I bought the Huawei stick, and
It's
then
a
you
USB.
yeah, a USB stick, and then all you have to do, you can just buy gigabytes
Mm-hmm.
from. But the problem with that is that I did realized is if you don't go to the Telmex and buy the money, buy the gigabytes from them,
Yeah.
and you buy it from someone else, then you gotta call in and report and where you bought it and blah, blah, blah.
And add it to
So I
your.
bought the stick, it was $20 for this Huawei stick. And then I put some gigabytes into it, and you could, but turns out you can only use it on your laptop.
I was gonna say, I don't think I would. If it's $20, I would go with the hotspot, because those are around $40 to $60.
Because I tried to plug it into my IPTV.
Oh, that's
the
interesting.
stick, and
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the TV to work. I couldn't get
Right,
it
because
to
you'd need a USB driver. You'd actually need special kind of software to use that as your bridge. Yeah.
Even though my TV box has 2 USBs.
Right, it's not intended
But
for
I
that.
plugged it in and I thought, oh, okay, I can plug this in and I
No.
can at least.
No, your IPTV USB would be looking at the most for storage, maybe a keyboard and mouse, but it wouldn't look for that kind of device. And so the stick is really limiting. I mean, it's like adding a Wi-Fi adapter to your computer, and then you have to have software that supports that Wi-Fi adapter. Whereas if you get the hotspot, anything that supports Wi-Fi is able to connect to it. So your phones, your tablets, your laptops, everything can connect to it. And that's
How
just
do you do the hotspot?
it's just a different device.
It's just a different device.
Yeah, it's a
When
device.
you use your phone for it.
Well, yeah, but
like,
you
you
can.
can't project Netflix onto your laptop or your TV with your phone. It won't do it. I got the sound and then I went online looking for it.
Yeah, but Linda, that's a different thing. We're talking about internet connectivity through the cell phone network, and you described doing it with a stick, and I'm describing doing it with a hotspot. When one of those devices that is about the size of a phone, but it's dedicated to providing you with internet through the cell network, and it creates a hotspot that you can connect all your devices
So you just don't
to.
use your phone as the hotspot?
Right. This would be a separate
This is
hotspot
additional.
plan. Yeah, that's
Hotspot
right.
Plan
Yeah,
from Telmex?
from Telcel.
I mean, from Telcel?
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got the equipment in the office, and they've got a specific, and I assume that's what you guys are talking about when you're talking about George's connection.
He's got a
No.
Telcel home.
yeah.
It's Telcel home modem.
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about.
Oh.
That's a hotspot.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so what else have we got going on? Is there any other topics that we should bring up?
If you have a cell phone down here, how do you keep advertisers from calling you? Is there any way to block those?
Yeah. I mean, the most
Don't
recent
recharge
cell
it.
phones make it very easy to block calls.
Well, our friend just had bought one down here, and he keeps getting these advertisements, and he would like to know how to block them, because they do take up his minutes.
Yeah, if it's an Android, I'm just realizing I don't even have my phone here. I
same
must have
number
left
all
it in the
the
car.
Well,
It's
they've
not
got
the
some.
same number.
Yeah, but in Android, you're going to have to look. In my experience, what you do is you look at the calls that are coming in, and then look at the info about that call. At that point, you may need to turn it into a contact, but typically in that list of information, there's a block caller button that you would hit, and it gets added to a blacklist. And so that number will no longer come in.
But they'll just
It'll ring
call
a
with the
couple
next.
times.
They'll call with the next iteration of numbers.
But it does ring, mine rings 4 times, which
Yeah,
is
that-
pretty annoying.
Yeah, it does ring.
Say that again. Oh, you must
If
be
it's
able
blocked. So if I block this call.
Yeah.
And they call back, it'll ring like 4 times and then it'll click off.
Yeah.
to. Oh, that's interesting. Now my blocked call list, they do nothing.
This is annoying on my.
That's an iPhone. I have a Huawei, and the software that was provided by the Huawei puts a notification on the screen saying blocked caller, and it makes no ringing, it makes no sound. It just puts a notification call was blocked. I'm sorry, Gary. What were you saying right there?
No, I was just asking Judy whether if it continued to do that with that same number.
Yes.
Or it just did it once.
No.
She said it continues.
It continues to
Yes.
do that. Chester, did you want to add to that?
No, I just wanted to confirm that you said you go to the information on that call.
On that particular
From
call.
there,
Yeah.
You can block it.
Yeah.
Some are like that. Some of the Samsungs, though, you have to go down to the
I
bottom.
have a Samsung.
Well, and I know I've had experience. I can't tell you the name brand, but I've had phones in my hand that I wasn't able to block the call unless I saved it as a contact to begin with. Which, in some respects, that's kind of nice. Like I was getting inundated with calls from Telcel, which I find is extremely annoying, poor business practice. I'm already their customer. Stop calling me to try and sell me stuff. But I put a contact in for like junk mail, and every time they called me with a new number, I would save that under the same contact. And so by default it would be blocked because that contact is blocked. And so then I had a number of numbers that were all associated with just one contact. And they continue every time a new call would come in, be like, oh, that's another one to block, and I just save it under that contact.
Is there a way to block a range of numbers?
Somehow I
Everything that
did, and I
starts with
can't
the same
remember how I did
area
it.
code and
Push the off button.
location.
Yes, turn it off.
I think that's a great question. I've never heard of such a thing, but you'd think there'd be an app out there. Somebody would have come up with that. If not for iPhone, you'd think on Android at
When
least.
I first got my iPhone, I was getting those calls all the time, and if I didn't recognize the number, I just didn't answer.
Right.
But it's annoying. Somehow I blocked them. I don't get them anymore, and I don't remember what I did.
I know.
Well, I think that'd be a great lookup topic. I'm going to make a note about it right now, is blocking ranges of numbers. And a good example, I mean, you may have trouble wrapping your head around why this is important, but you could be somebody that only does business in Mexico. So any calls from Russia or any other country, you wouldn't receive you wouldn't want to receive in the first place. So why not be able to block down your phone to country codes 5.2 and country codes 1 and everything else just block.
It seems like also my Android built-in block thing seems to have a limit of 200. I've got an app that'll do more than that.
Oh, you're saying that the default app from your
It
phone.
fills up the number of blocked calls,
Ah.
and it's 200 in my case. I don't know if that's universal.
Can I go back to computers? I have a question about blocking,
Okay.
and that is, does anybody block stuff and it still comes up?
You're talking about like junk mail.
Yes.
Yeah, all the time. We all have that problem.
You all have that problem?
Yeah, because the junk mailers are always looking for a way to get around the blocking filters. And so when you block something, it may be very successful for a while, but if they're persistent, if that's the way they're making their money is sending out junk mail, eventually they'll find a way around that filter and you'll have another system to block.
Gmail does a good job of that, though.
Yeah, he's talking about spam. Yeah.
Yeah, but think of how much, if you go into your spam and then you see all kinds of stuff from people that you really wanna get from, goes into the spam.
So you can move it. You can move those.
What about the emails
Yeah.
that you get, and there's an article that you wanna, read about, and so you go out on the internet, and then they always come up with, do you wanna subscribe? They always have that little block. How do you block that block? Cause every time you have to turn it off, but is there a way to block it from coming up in the first place?
That's how they're making their money.
Yeah, I got to tell you, we are not going to solve this spam junk mail problem today. This is a constant dynamic problem. It is changing every day.
What's really good is Outlook.
Outlook?
Microsoft Outlook, I've tried like Thunderbird, went through a list of email programs. Microsoft Outlook is the best in my opinion. And I don't get any more junk mail. It all goes into spam, and I used to check it and put not junk on the ones that I wanted to get. Now I just delete, empty the spam, and that's it.
I don't even look at the spam. I let Microsoft deal with it.
But Outlook also allows you to define rules.
Yes.
To block, you know, not just
Now,
this person.
I think there is a distinction though, because I don't think you have rules on Outlook.com. You do have it on Outlook that comes with Office.
Outlook app.
The app?
On your
Yeah.
phone or in Windows if you install Office or get Outlook.
Do you have rules on the Outlook app? I don't think
yes,
you
I
do.
think so.
On your mobile app, I don't think you do. I think what you've got is you've got 3 tiers of blocking, and the first tier is no blocking. And then I think you have a moderate blocking, and then you have strict blocking.
Well, you know, in Gmail,
But you do have rules in Outlook, the Office app, for your laptop. You have rules, definitely.
Well, that would apply to
No,
this, I would think.
they've changed it.
They don't sync.
They've made the two things different. And actually, Google, I don't think does rules. I think they've got the same kind of tiered blocking. You can suggest things for junk mail, but you can't go and set a rule saying every time this comes in, it's junk mail. You can't do that on Gmail.
But Gmail works really well.
It does.
You put a recipient into into your spam account, and all the future ones go right in there.
Yeah.
I get about 50 a day.
But you know, they also have the headers. They've got the promotions and the.
Right. Yes,
That works really good because you can go right in the promotions and start erasing all of those and keeping your percentage down, because you don't.
Gmail also
you get up to that percentage gets up pretty fast.
Really?
Gmail also has an algorithm that will determine which emails they think are important and copy those into a separate folder.
Oh, well, that's an Outlook thing now too. I haven't looked at the Gmail version of it, but Outlook's got.
Well, I use both. They combine.
Yeah.
What does Outlook have?
It's got the ability to. It's similar to tabbed browsing, where it is said it's called a focused inbox, and so it focuses things that are all related into one set of emails, and then things that seem unrelatable, like these one-offs, are in an other section. So you've got your focused inbox, which is all your correspondence, the things you're doing daily, the things that are all related to each other, and then you have this other spot I think it's called Other, where it's these one-offs. It might be where you would find a sales promotion for Amazon, or you might find something out of the blue that I don't know. I deal with bed and breakfast guests, so I might have just something come in from a bed and breakfast guest that I haven't started a conversation with yet. But what it really is this artificial intelligence, this really low budget artificial intelligence that's trying to help you keep your email organized so you don't have to. So it's trying to make those decisions for you. And
how do you keep the focus always there? Sometimes I see the focus, sometimes I see the other.
Yeah.
And I don't always see both.
Yeah, you never see both, actually. I think you have to choose which view you want.
Well, you have to have a heading.
Right.
There's no heading.
If there's no heading, I don't believe there's anything that unread that would fall under that heading. I think everything should be in your inbox at that point. And it does seem like Gmail's doing that with like social, aren't they? They're separating into tabs that like, for example, if you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn, Gmail will look at those things, wrap them together, and put them under a heading of social. So that's all your social emails.
They're copies though, the original is still on all, under the heading of all mail, everything is still there.
Everything under all mail is all mail.
And all mail is where you have to delete. Remember?
Huh, okay.
Judy?
All
Yeah,
mail.
when we're deleting, you have to go into all mail to delete everything. You can't delete it.
Is that from iOS mail or from Mac mail?
Gmail.
But are you accessing it through a web browser and you have to go to all mail to delete
And
it?
you have to do it on your computer.
Do you have to do one at a time?
No.
That seems odd.
But the best
Oh.
is to go all the way to the end.
Wait, is this the distinction between deleting and archiving?
No.
Well,
We're
what I do
if you get
is
too
I will
many-
put in, I will put the name in search. Like I wanna get rid of all the emails from the yacht club, just to clean things up. I will put yacht club in search and then delete them all at one time.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about all this, and I'm realizing that there is a whole slew of new Gmail features that have been refined that are just rolling out right now. And I should come in ready to talk about those. So I'm going to put a note here.
That'd be nice.
So you just go in the search and search Yacht Club, and then they all come up.
Yeah.
But then everything comes up that has the name Yacht Club in it.
Well, that's true too.
Because I noticed that, because I was searching for somebody's mail, and I put in a certain thing.
No, you have
And
to
then I
be
got
prepared
mail
to,
from other people that mentioned that name.
you have to be prepared that if you have other emails with yachts, yeah.
But when Judy and I were looking how to erase emails totally,
Mhm.
you have to go in your computer
Into Gmail.
and go to Gmail and go to all mail, then go to the very last page, 67,000 emails, go to the last page, and start erasing page by page. And it won't let you do too many because they go into the trash, and then you have to get them out of the.
You have to
erase the trash.
erase them from the trash. That's interesting.
Right.
Well, I would think that you could do that from an IMAP client. You could just go and tag them to be deleted. The one thing that I do know is an issue with Gmail on the phones is that, or on iDevices, is that when you delete, there's this thing called archiving, right? And you have the choice in your Gmail account of whether you're going to archive that, which means pull it out of the inbox and stick it in an archive that still takes up your space, versus putting it in the trash. And when you configure an iDevice, you have to choose what a delete means from the mail program, whether it means archiving or whether it means deleting,
Well,
flagging
what
it
does
for
archive
deleting.
mean?
Well, archiving means it's pulled out of your inbox. And that's the reason that you have to
But
go
where's
into
it go?
all mail to find it. Yeah, it goes into a...
Stays there.
Yeah.
It stays there.
See, in Gmail's really pushed this change in paradigm. There are no folders. They finally relented and made up these fictitious folders. Everything in Gmail is tags. And so you're like meta tags. And so when you look at a trash can in email, what you're really looking at is you're looking at all your email that has a trash can flag on it. It's not physically located in a separate folder. And this is hard to understand because they've worked really hard, because people had a lot of trouble with this concept. They've worked really hard to make everything appear as though it's in folders. Outlook is different. Outlook started out with folders. Those are physical folders, the physical storage containers that are being used. Gmail doesn't use any of that stuff. Everything is a tag in Gmail.
But, let me comment if I may. When I take spam, and I'll have, say, 500 of them, and I will delete them a page at a time, they're not just deleted, they're deleted forever.
Yes.
Okay, then in my delete account, when I delete emails
Right.
that I no longer want to keep, I think every 30 days, it's all dumped.
That's right, with the trash
So the-
can.
So the trash does get dumped, it doesn't stay
Yep.
there forever.
That's right.
Unless you have it set to not ever.
Yeah,
do
but I
that.
don't, so.
But
Well, and if
you
you've
murdered
collected enough.
somebody, they'll be able to go in there and get those emails.
That's right.
I don't think they can get them.
I gotta clean up my trash. Hold on.
I think they
What-
can get them from Gmail, not me, I mean, not in my.
Well, actually, you know, they've got it Gmail now, they've got promotions, and what's the other one it called? You can actually go in, I've gone into the
Yep.
promotions and deleted all those promotions.
So promotions is the latest way of
Exactly,
dealing with
because
junk
it's too
mail.
much
Is
junk.
anything that's considered legitimate commerce that you're getting emails on gets ferreted over and it gets tagged as promotions, and then their visual representation is a tabbed browsing, and you go over there and see all the promotional emails that it's come up, just like the social.
How
Yeah.
much percentage your box keeps getting.
I
Higher-
set mine up so all of those go into spam.
That would be interesting. Can you, if you could just hit the promotionals tab and say everything that comes here is junk mail? Go ahead, Mike.
I've been using folders for years.
Yeah.
I have one for San Carlos, one for utilities. And,
Yeah, me too.
Well, you're saying that they're not folders?
In Gmail, they're not folders. In
I use
Gmails,
Gmail.
they're
I use Gmail.
yeah. Gmail, it gets tagged.
like folders.
They look exactly like folders, but the whole paradigm stems out of this tagging. And I remember when they brought folders to Gmail, what it is literally is it is a tag that's folder name, but it's not an actual folder. It's just tagged right on the email, and when the Gmail client sees that, then it puts up this visual representation of a folder. But they don't use folder storage containers.
The folders I set up are in Outlook.
That's right. Your Yacht Club folder, is it in Outlook or Gmail?
No, for example, let's say I'm buying something on the internet.
Oh.
I have a folder on Outlook called Transactions, and so I move all of those in Outlook. I move them into that folder. So in the future, I can go in there and see if they've been delivered, and then I delete them, and then after they get deleted then in Gmail, and then and every month they get dumped.
Yes.
I think in developing a topic, what you ought to do is start with the basics of like POP3 versus IMAP, or where the things are stored.
I think that's
and then
true.
break it down into like
Yeah, oh, you're talking about if I bring in these new features?
topics to start separating at the top, because there's some real advantages, pros and cons of each method. And then talk about, you know, how you access it with which email client and the differences there too.
Oh my gosh, don't make me do all that work.
We talked about
I can
that
barely get the
before, too.
equipment set up when I show up.
I think it's causing so much confusion in this.
Yeah. I mean, and I wonder if this is the topics we want to, because a lot of this is just stuff that regurgitation of stuff we've covered in the past too.
It's very hard to get back to anything in the past. You know, you're not gonna go listen to every comment that's happened.
Yeah. Well, I do know that Gmail has just released a whole slew of new features, and so I'll bring in a list of those that we can go through.
I have a question for Bob. Bob,
Wake up, Bob.
which email do you have?
Outlook.
Outlook.
So I think the new paradigm in Outlook Online is the same paradigm that Gmail is using. It's taken all the controls out of your hands, and all it's given you is turn on junk mail, turn on medium junk mail, turn on extreme Gmail, or extreme junk mail. So either turn off the filtering, you turn on the filtering moderately, or you turn it on extremely. And when you have it extremely turned on, there's a good chance that things that matter to you may end up in junk mail. So you have to know that and check your junk mail from time to time to make sure you haven't missed anything.
So how do you go to settings to do that?
You would log into your Outlook.com account, and you would go into the email settings, and there is a junk mail setting right there. And it's got these 3 radio buttons: turn on moderately, turn on severely.
And if you have folders, are folders ever deleted?
Well, you can delete them on Outlook. I mean, I'm sorry. There's so little. There's a thin line between the way Google does and because your experience is the same. You have a folder presented to you, and it doesn't matter whether that's an actual storage container or not. You deal with it like it's a folder. So on Gmail, even though they don't actually have folders, you still deal with it like it's a folder because that's the paradigm that people are accustomed to. That's the whole reason they brought folders back.
I think you can choose.
If I have a folder called a transaction,
yeah.
does that sit there
That's not,
forever and ever and ever?
I don't have that in Gmail. I have that in Outlook.
Yeah, but yes, there's no reason for it to disappear.
It's there with thousands and thousands of things.
There's no reason for it to disappear unless you've deleted it or they've had some technical problem. That folder should still be there.
That's the nice thing about Outlook.
Yeah.
You can also set it just to get emails from your contacts, and everybody else goes into spam.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that's the easiest way to get rid of.
That's very similar to the telephone blocking. It's I only want Mexico and America. I don't want any other phone calls from me. I only want emails from people that are in my contact list. Everything else is considered bad. Is there a function for blocking by domain? In Outlook.com? Yeah, I looked at it recently and I felt like it wasn't very robust. They were making all the decisions for you with junk mail. It would be interesting to look into.
Well, maybe what we should do, I have a 32-inch TV
that
I don't use, that I take with me.
Okay.
Maybe I could bring it, we could
go through email.
Bring up and some things that we could put on the TV so everybody could see it.
Sure. I'd be into that. That would be cool. Let's you and me coordinate on a good day to do that, and we'll come up with an idea for how to present email.
I think the visual's a lot easier for people to see than having to think it in your mind.
Yeah.
About what it looks like, and we could just.
You wouldn't mind bringing a 32-inch TV in with you?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah.
Speaking
That's
of
true.
that, my friend was coming across country, and she found out while they're driving, whatever, that in Facebook, that a lot of her old Facebook friends had been deleted or blocked out, and there was a way for her to get them back, and so she was finding her old friends, online. They only allow so many to filter through, and it's the ones that you generally say that you like something of theirs, and so they'll keep sending them. But
you're talking about the timeline. You're talking about getting the posts from people. Yeah, and it's already set up some kind of filtering, so you're missing all those other posts.
That's why you don't see them, and then you go to somebody, then you go to their name, and you see all these emails. You're going, all these Facebook posts, and you're going, well, I didn't get those.
Yeah, because Facebook is limiting them.
That's right. And you have this experience where maybe I've got a couple of friends that always post interesting stuff, and I'm always like. Well, after a while, that's all you're seeing is that stuff.
Exactly.
And you're missing all your friends and family, all this other stuff that's coming by.
Yeah, so how do you get around that?
Well, that's another good topic. I've actually pulled so far away from Facebook that I haven't even bothered to invest in it. But we can find out, because that is a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
Is how to democratize your feed.
Right. We can watch you online.
Can I make one more comment about Microsoft Outlook?
Sure.
For years, I loved Outlook 2007. Office 2007 and the Outlook program. I was used to it. I loved it, and it quit working, and I was forced to go to Outlook 365 or Microsoft Office 365. And once I got used to it, I love it.
It's fun.
But it is more complicated, but it is just really nice.
Well, there is stuff that's much easier to use in it too. And I mean, like the what really impressed me was the PowerPoint that I did, the smartphones.
Yeah.
That was just amazingly. I couldn't help but preach the benefits of that program. It was teaching me how to build the presentation as I would reach looking for something that I knew I could do, and all of a sudden it knew that I wanted to do it and showed me how to do it. It was. Yeah, like it was reading my mind, which is where we're going with all this anyway, right?
I'm reading the book right now about AI.
Hey.
It's scary. Oh,
Yeah, the AI stuff is
very
it's
scary.
yeah. Get ready for machines to be smarter than you. It's coming.
And rapidly
Most of them are
smarter.
anyway.
Yeah, and exponentially smarter.
Exactly.
Every month, every year, getting exponentially smarter.
Every second.
Yeah, I thought it was just the kids that were smarter.
This is a scary book, actually.
What's the name of the book?
I can't remember.
Okay.
It's by Rollins.
That's a hot tub.
Yeah, you're responsible for bringing that name
Okay.
in now.
The machine knows. This machine's not.
Join the group.
If anybody's interested, my topic I brought in was there's rumors that they might be shutting down the metadata collection system left over from the 9/11, the system that was set up by the NSA to collect everybody's metadata from their phones. There isn't an official word. All of it's everything that they've written. There's been a article in the Times, in the New York Times, and the Journal. I assume that's the Wall Street Journal, talking about how this is informal and unofficial, but they are having their first talks about shutting this whole program down, and it's been mostly being discussed because of what happened in 2015 when they changed the Patriot Act and told the NSA they could no longer arbitrarily collect everybody's data. This was shut down 2 years after Snowden had made us aware of this collection of data that was happening, and it was determined to be unconstitutional. And so in 2016, they changed the Patriot Act to make sure that the only metadata that can be gotten a hold of by the NSA. I know, I'm watching your face. I know, they've got the data. They've got it. There's no doubt in my mind they've got it. But this is the official word on it, is that program has been falling apart since 2015 because the requirements, the stipulations on collecting data, required them to go to the phone operators and specify the subjects that they were interested in. They could no longer just have a funnel of information into the NSA of everybody. This is the domestic surveillance program that you heard so much about. This is a real thing that had been going on. We'd known about it in 2006, and we required 7 years of education before anyone really understood what that meant. It required Snowden coming out and making us all aware of what this meant. And it took 2 more years for it to be isolated to only a judge could order the surveillance of a U.S. citizen. And so the NSA had to go to a judge, get an order. They had to give that to the telecom operators, and that was the only thing that allowed them to start collecting that information. I bring this up because, to me, what they've described, this is what we need to be concerned with. We need to be educated in these areas and understand that the regulation we're interested in is protecting our own privacy, the use of our information. The collection of your information is going to happen. Technically, there's no way for that not to happen. But we can set the rules on what we consider to be appropriate use of our information. And when we find violations in those rules, we can hold companies and governments accountable for them. And what has happened is that the NSA's database has gotten corrupted because they have been handed incorrect information, or downright the wrong information has gotten stuck in their database. So they've inadvertently collected other people's information, or they've collected other people's information under the name of somebody else's information. And because it is not to the warrant, it's gotten garbled up in their system, and they had to take extreme measures recently, and they just purged their whole database, so they say. And every time they've gone back to trying to do things following the rules that were set in place, so they say, they end up with inaccurate information. And so there's right now whispers going on that they're just going to eliminate the whole program because it cannot comply with what was legally put together under the changes that were made to the Patriot Act.
Well, you know, it's one thing for a company to collect information, but it's certainly something else for the government to collect.
Well, and the other thing is that this only addresses the government collection of information. This does not address like the location information we were talking about that was for sale, that your phone is spitting out every time you bring your phone around. That information is getting collected. It's being put into a third-party market where it's being sold to marketers. The corporations all still have the Patriot Act, and the changes they made was to protect you from government surveillance,
Right.
but it does nothing to protect you from corporate surveillance. And again, this information, you can't stop it. Outside of a complete de-evolution of our society, like nuclear war, this is where we're going. All your information is getting collected by these gadgets. It's out there. We need to start thinking about how we're going to protect the way that information is used, because it's out there.
Yeah, but it's just like if you go Google any of your friend, or put in your friend's name, it brings up their address, their phone number, everything.
Sure. Well, Facebook is in trouble right now because it turns out that phone number that you put in for second factor authentication got mixed in with their databases, and they discovered that people were able to find people by phone number. So you're able to go into Facebook, and I didn't read all the details, but in the end, somebody like me could go into Facebook and type in somebody's phone number and find out who it belonged to. The whole reason that Facebook has the phone number in the first, I mean, this is your worst fear. Imagine, they asked you for the phone number because it was only going to be used for security purposes. That phone number, the whole idea when they asked you for it was, you're going to put in your password, we're not going to trust you, we're going to send a text message to your phone, that's going to give you an authorization code, that's the way we're going to know it's you, this is going to be the most secure you've ever been on Facebook. That phone number's gotten mixed in with all your data.
But it's not just Facebook that does that.
No.
Well, right, but the Facebook problem is, like Google does that as well. Google has kept that phone number separate from your, in terms of people, other people on Facebook, they have.
I can go into Dex Knows and type in a phone number in it.
But that's a different deal.
Yeah.
That's a different deal.
It's the same thing.
But no, it's not, because what Google has done is it's indexed phone books, right? So you can go to Google, the end result is the same. Who's responsible for it is different. In regards to Facebook, they asked you for that phone number for security purposes, and then they attached it to your public information.
But don't you think that's naive of you and I to think?
They also did not create a way for you to remove that from your public information.
I can't?
You can't.
Are you sure?
Well, unless in the last week it may have changed. But there was no place to remove that phone number.
Can you change that phone number?
Again, this is not your public phone number. This is the phone number you provided Facebook with to do two-factor authentication.
It is your public
But
number, though,
the public phone number is the one you put on your Facebook profile. That one you can change. That one you can change it to whatever your current phone number is. You can have office phone numbers.
But if they're going to authenticate and send me a text to authenticate, it has to be my actual phone number. Can't I go in
It
and
does,
change that?
but it doesn't have to be the phone number that anyone can find. And that's what they've done wrong, is they've taken, like maybe you're somebody who wants to have the most secure experience. You don't want anybody else getting into your Facebook page. So you do two-factor authentication. So even if they've got your password, they don't have your phone. And so you can authorize it with a code. So they took that phone number and made that phone number public. You understand the distinction, right?
Well,
The other phone number you're making public. In your security scenario, you intentionally left your phone number off of your Facebook account so no one would find it. And they found it anyway because Facebook said, oh, here's the one we used for two-factor authentication. You see the distinction, right? This is where they're in a lot of trouble right now. is that, and they keep getting caught doing stuff like this. And I think
They're
it's,
all doing it though. All you
well,
have to do is Google your friend's name and find her.
again,
and
this
everything's on there.
this was Linda's point. I'm sorry, this is Judy's point. Linda's point is Judy's point, and I agree with you. The end result is the same.
Absolutely.
Is the same result. The difference is who's responsible for it. And
Any one of
Facebook can be held responsible for it because this was not the intention of the phone number. Whereas the phone books that are public record are allowed to be indexed by Google. Google has done nothing wrong. You should have kept your phone number out of those phone books, if that was your concern. It's
you keeping it out. Just go to any one of those, those lookup things where you can find people by their age or where they live, and up pops your. Just go in there, and up pops your age, your address, your phone number.
See,
your birthday.
The reason we can rant about this is because there's no regulation about this. The reason that Facebook's in trouble is because they lied to you, not because they broke any rules. I mean, they didn't break any laws. They lied to you. They got you to put in your phone number for two-factor authentication and then allowed it to get into your public information. That's the reason they're in trouble. If they had told you that's how it was going to be used, it would be okay.
That's apparently only one thing they've done. They've done other.
Yeah, they keep getting caught making these poor decisions. We need a set of regulations that requires these businesses to model out how the release of this information could be misused. We need to hold them accountable for this stuff.
Yeah, but every single account
Right.
now is making you have
Right.
two-factor authentication. It doesn't matter.
Well, and to be clear, I'm not saying that this is happening everywhere there's two-factor authentication. You can make that assumption, but I'm assuming that this is incompetence on Facebook's part. That this was not. I mean, they're happy to have it all linked together until they get caught. But if they'd have a forward-thinking person, they would realize they would get in trouble if this were ever to get out. And I think that's what Google does. There's no doubt in my mind, your two-factor phone number is associated with your information. Google's just smart enough to keep it out of the public eye.
How many people use Facebook in this room?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
I try not to, but yeah.
Most of us.
Yeah.
But once you're in there, you can never get out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I found out. You know
I-
what, if you die,
You have to use
Yes.
Facebook.
That's right. If
You're there.
you got a digital frame that's wireless from your grandkids that's hooked up, you've got Facebook that allows you to see the latest pictures in
I
it.
get the photos.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
but you know that on Facebook, if you die, your heirs, if you want your Facebook off of there, they have to produce a death certificate to Google.
or you wait to Facebook.
In
Yeah,
order to get you off of there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're on there. And if you just sign out of Facebook, you're still on there.
you know that's not an uncommon practice. It's actually the most secure practice you can think of to be able to deal with that stuff. You know that if you have say your spouse passes away and you want to use their iPhone and you don't know their code, you have to get a death certificate to an Apple representative to get them to unlock that phone, or it's a useless device. It can't be used for a phone anymore because they've got such great security on it. It's just locked down until you've got the password. I don't have a problem with the death certificate thing. I don't think that you're ever off of Facebook, though. When you start collecting personal data in those databases, all you do is if you get off of it, all you do is lose your access to that information. They've still got that access.
Well, because my sister found out she wanted to get off Facebook, but still use Messenger. Well, you
Right?
can't.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually,
So I told her, I said, you know what, just sign out of Facebook and don't go in there and only use the Messenger app.
actually,
That's
you
what
can
want.
you can delete your Facebook account. You can do that.
Yeah.
And you can use Messenger because it's associated with your phone number, but it has to be set up as a different account.
She tried that.
Yeah, it's not.
So we're using WhatsApp now anyway, so. but
Sure.
pretty soon it's all gonna be together, so now you'll have to see what they're gonna do.
It's all the same company. They don't care if you use WhatsApp or not.
Right.
Yeah. I bring this up because I thought it was interesting that they were starting talks about this I thought it was a great reminder of how we don't have enough regulation protecting our personal information. It's a reminder that our personal information is always out there. We're not trying to block it anymore. We're trying to block the way it gets used.
Yeah, but the main thing is to block the government.
And Chester says the government's more dangerous than the corporations.
But the regulation that's going to come forward is going to be determined by old men that don't understand the internet anyway.
Or they're gonna enforce
Yeah.
it if they pass
You know,
Well, that's definitely been where we're at, right? That's the reason we don't have any regulation right now. Nobody understands what we're talking about.
No, they do.
But that's a good topic, because I just read yesterday about jobs and upcoming jobs for people.
Oh, yeah?
The language in the job,
It's fine.
they had a job interview on posted, so I
See you
read
next
it.
week.
First of all the terminology, I didn't understand any of it. Not one thing in this interview.
Really? You mean like all the requirements for the job? Yeah, it's
There
a
were
job
names-
description?
There was names of things. And in order to get anywhere now, if you are not educated and have $100,000 job, you aren't gonna be nowhere. You are gonna be dead poor, and you're not
Well-
gonna get anywhere because the language and the terminology to get a job now is so high. I wish I could find that article again, I'd bring it, because the language in it was, I had no idea what any of the stuff was they were talking about.
Talk about scientific language?
Well, you know, we started out this meeting, we were talking about my children and their education and the way there's more of a re-emphasis on being able to be critical thinkers and dynamic thinkers because things change so quickly. And it's important to remember that 50 years ago, we couldn't imagine the jobs we're doing now.
Well,
I mean,
listen to the language your daughters
we have
use.
social media experts, right? We got people out there that get paid good money to make sure that their product looks good on Twitter.
Well, I think
That's their whole job.
In education today, it seems to be moving back towards the Socratic method.
Yeah?
Socratic method, instead of where you have somebody just telling you all the time what to do and how to do it.
The knowledge isn't knowing I know nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the stuff your girls are talking about,
Mhm.
it's way over our heads.
Yeah, well, it may not be that far away though. I mean,
The
it's,
job interview I saw online
yeah,
was way over my head.
yeah.
I didn't know the terminology they were talking about. I didn't know the answer, like they gave some questions.
Right, yeah.
The answers were so out there.
I'd be interested in looking at it,
Yeah.
just to see what it is.
What job interview is she talking about?
Yeah, what were they
You're reading an
interviewing for?
article that had
I was
a.
reading this article about the average income now. The average income is about $108,000, and if you can't meet that, you know, you're.
Well, this must be for Silicon Valley jobs or tech jobs.
It was actually in Seattle.
Okay.
So they are Silicon Valley type jobs.
Okay.
But they weren't just talking about Seattle. They were talking about if you aren't getting a job, you aren't educating yourself, and you're not gonna have a job that pays around $108,000 a year, you're gonna be poor. So if you're not gonna go get yourself educated, and you think you're just gonna get to a high school education, you have something else coming to you, because you're not gonna be able to earn an income that's gonna allow you to even purchase a house. When you
Yeah,
think about
I'd be interested in seeing the article. It sounds like a bit of fear mongering.
Yeah, I
I mean,
think
really,
you're scaring kids away.
we've moved into a time period where so much of our education is digitally based that people don't know how to fix a toilet. I mean, I sure don't. Or welding, or concrete work, or I mean, we're quickly moving into an area where tradesmen are going to be making more money than they've ever made before because there's so few of them. So I think we're going to have a lot of different opportunities, but the point is they're different. They're what you're describing it may appear to me the same way it's appearing to you, because I've always worked in those kinds of jobs.
But the person who made 45 or 50,000, you're gonna be poor.
But the plumber isn't going to be poor, because we need plumbers, and we need people that can build houses, and we need people that can fix roads. And those things we haven't figured out how to digitalize. Whereas a lot of the jobs I've held so many jobs in IT that are not the same anymore. They've been taken care. They've been automated away. So it's not hard for me to imagine in our scope of work, there is jobs out there that you can't even identify, like the social media network expert.
Right.
That's bizarre.
Termination, the terms and the way they talk, like in the interview, it was, I was reading it, it was way over my head, even though some of it probably was really simple. But they've got it so wordy and way over your head, way over the top about what you can do.
Jargon, a lot of jargon.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, we are living in a world where everybody wants to solve their problems by pushing a button on a phone. So no matter what vocabulary is being used, nobody wants it to be any harder than that. Right? keep that in mind. It may sound technical, but in the end, everybody wants it to be as easy as pressing a button on their phone. And with that, we should close this up, because we are over, again, like always. We're into the ish of 10, 15. It's the ish. It's
almost 10:30.
That's right.
Anyway, I can fix a toilet.
Good for you.
I
will call you.
I can install a toilet.
Oh, hey, that's impressive. I'm
that
very
too.
impressed by the folks that can do that stuff. I've always been disappointed with the people that look around and think the Mexicans are so lazy. It's like, have you ever seen them build a house?
You ever seen them throwing those red bricks?
Right? Yeah,
Three layers up.
Lazy is the last word I would ever use to describe these people.
I would describe them as
I'm in trouble
happy.
again, Scott.
Oh no!
Yeah, I can't get online, and I don't know if I can give you a computer and you can straighten
Do
me out.
you have it right here?
Yep.
Do you want to open it up and we'll just take a quick look at it? And I will shut this down. This has been the San Carlos Computer Club. Once again, I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions. And if you enjoyed this or and are interested in recordings like this, I would suggest check out our website at scclub.org. We also publish a podcast on iTunes or anywhere you get podcasts. Just search for the San Carlos Computer Club. If you're looking for computer help anywhere on the internet, I'd appreciate it if you get a hold of me. That's Scott at internationalcs.net, or call our offices at country code 52, area code 622, phone number 226-0209, and we'll get with you. Until next week, good talking to you, and I'll talk to you Tuesday at 9:15. Oh, from Tequila. We're in Tequilas. I forgot to say, we meet in Tequilas every Tuesday. Until then, keep calm, tech on. I'll see you.